Content marketing is powerful in so many ways. It grows awareness and visibility and trust, but does it actually generate demand? Not as much as you might think so. Content marketing isn't famous for instantly driving qualified leads. Just check analytics for any site that has an active content marketing program, and you'll find that visitors who start their visit on a sales page are like 50 times more likely to take action than visitors who start their visit on a blog post. So, if these people aren't that likely to take action, what do they do? People who start their visit on a blog post, what might they do? Subscribe. If the content is good enough, they are maybe happy to share their email address and subscribe to get more information. And the moment they do share their email address, they've given you permission to cut out big tech and Google and Facebook and market to them directly. It's magical. And this is why I don't know a single hardcore marketer that isn't aggressively trying to grow their email list. But it's tough. It takes a lot of trust. How do you get people to share their email address? That's where the lead magnet comes in. This video is about lead magnets. If you give them a little nudge, if you offer them something a little bit more, something relevant, something useful, something really good, they're much more likely to give you their address. It's basically an ethical bribe. It's sometimes called a content upgrade. It's sometimes called a freebie, an opt-in incentive. So now we're going to break down the best practices and most effective techniques for using lead magnets. What offers work the best? We've got some research on that. How to create a better call to action. Going to show you some specific examples. And how to construct the actual form. And then we'll jump into the debate, gate or not to gate. The gate or not to gate debate, really fun. And we'll show you an example of a content program that decided not to gate and got huge results. Totally fascinating. Okay, let's jump right in.
Okay, let's start with some data. Every year we ask 1,000 bloggers a bunch of questions. One of them is, do you use lead magnets and gated content? Another of them is, do you get strong results from digital? And we find a correlation. The bloggers who use lead magnets are far more likely to report success. Yes, it's a best practice. In fact, something like 57% more likely to report strong results. Makes a big difference. Now, next, I want to just give you a really immediate high-value tip. This is powerful stuff. If you have any sign-up form anywhere, make sure that it includes the 3 Ps. For lead magnets, gated content, for whatever you're doing. The first P is prominence. It stands out. The box, the offer, is highly visible, right? It's like in a different color. It's a pop-up. It's a sticky footer. Wherever the case is, this gate, it's obvious. Next, promise. It makes a specific offer. It tells them what they're going to get specifically. Be very specific. Specificity correlates with conversion. Finally, proof. Give them some evidence that it's legit. Give them a reason to do it. Show them other people are doing it, maybe with a testimonial, or in some cases just to show that, X number of people have taken this action before. Now let's take a look at the offer, the magnet itself, the ethical bribe, as I called it, the content upgrade. So GetResponse did a bunch of research on this. They talked to 790 marketers and asked them what type of lead magnets have the highest conversion rate. And they found that videos and written content, not that surprising, had the highest conversion rates. But what kind of video? The next question found that actually webinars are the highest performing long-form video content. And what kind of written content? Guides. I find that really interesting because the word guide is kind of interchangeable with some other terms, other names of formats we use in content marketing. Guide versus ebook, is there a difference there? Actually, there is. LinkedIn has tons of data and the marketing team is constantly running tests. This was discovered by Megan Golden some years back. She found that when they changed the word from ebook to guide, they got 100% higher click-through rate. Maybe we're in a post-ebook era. Ebook kind of sounds like homework, kind of sounds like work. Do I want an ebook? A lot of reading. Guide sort of indicates value. It sounds like a benefit. Sounds like a helpful and practical thing. Next, let's talk about the call to action, the specific words inside the CTA. Now, one thing that we've learned after many years of building hundreds of websites and decade plus in content marketing is that people don't click on stuff unless in their mind, when they do the split-second cost-benefit calculation, the benefit exceeds the cost. If the benefit is bigger than the cost, the little guy makes it over there to the right, and that's called a conversion. Another way to think of this, nobody does anything until they've done in their mind a split-second ROI calculation. If the R is greater than the I, and the I might just be giving you my email address or 10 seconds of my time, then I'm likely to convert. So you have to make the R bigger or the I smaller. That's how to get people to click. That's how to write an effective call to action. That is why specificity correlates with conversion. Quick example from Social Media Examiner. Download your free digital copy. What is it? It's free. The I is lower. It's not that big of an investment. You're going to get it right now. And look at the prominence, big thing, the proof. Other people are using these insights. You get the idea. Here's another one. This is on Backlinko. This is Brian Dean. He's using a couple different psychological triggers here. One says he's showing you that you're getting close to completion, even though it's a one-step process. He's showing you that you're half done, almost there with the completion. Confirm your email address to get what? The exclusive content. The R seems bigger, right? Make the R big or the I small. That's how to get conversions. That's how to promote your lead magnet. That's how to grow your email list. In other words, one way to think of this, the formula for a high performance call to action is to be specific, as in, I want to what? That's the specific action. Because why? What is the benefit? What is the thing that, why do they care? So let's look at a couple more examples. Download the free guide. That's a specific thing, right? And why would you care? To start your guard tower training today. I'm making this up, fake example, but you get the idea. That's the value, that's the benefit of taking the action. Here's another one. Talk to a strategist to get your free estimate. The specific action is talk to a strategist. Look at the verb. It's not click, it's not read, it's not learn, it's talk to a strategist. Doesn't sound that like a big commitment, does it? It's just talking to a strategist. You're not investing a ton here. The I is relatively low. And why? To get your free estimate. You get the idea, right? One more. Even a call number, right? Like this works for any CTA. Call, that's a specific thing. Why would you do that? To talk to a web strategist, okay? That's the idea. Now I want to break down the anatomy of the form itself. I'm going to show you some things that we all learned years ago by reading some studies done by Unbounce. Unbounce is a landing page authoring and testing platform. It's like a conversion intelligence tool these days. It's evolved quite a bit. And the Unbounce team shares a lot of their insights. This is something we learned from them a long time ago. This is a form, okay? This is the Guide to Moats and Gates. 10 tips for medieval defense. That's the form headline. Look, we're going to design the form like it's its own tiny page and it gets its own headline. That's the what of the offer. Look how specific it is. 10 tips. The R sounds high. You might get a lot from this, right? You might not like some of them, but there's going to be 10 of them. Next, a little subhead. More about why you should care. This is a complete guide for keeping the barbarians out, right? I'm being specific in the benefit. Next, bullets. More why. Easy to read. I'm going to keep merchandising. I'm selling this to you, right? You can feel like there's benefits. When to use Euler spikes. Safety tips for wall guards. You get the idea. And then the form itself. Best practices are to use as few form fields as possible. Of course, you should test that for yourself. Best practices are really just good hypotheses, and you should be trying these things to see if they work for you, your content, your audience, their context. And then finally, the button. Describe what happens if they click. And again, be specific. Get you see how we switched the point of view to be first person now? Get my 10-step guide to castle defense, right? Everything in marketing can be second person because you're speaking to your target visitor, except the text on the button, the call to action. There are studies that show that when you switch the point of view to be first person for the calls to action, you might get a higher click-through rate or conversion rate. Why? Because you're participating in the reader's internal dialogue. They're hearing those words in their mind and they're empathetically kind of imagining that for themselves. Finally, Ollie Gardner from Unbounce is pitching very good at this, and he recommends adding the closer, right? At the very end. It's a last minute nudge. Might be a little bit of social proof, might be some urgency, something that builds confidence or trust, some important detail. For example, we never share the information. Make sense? That is the anatomy of a high converting form, something that may work on landing pages, may work for your lead magnets, may work in even pop-ups or anywhere you're hoping to get a conversion. Quick reminder for next steps. The person did take an action. What happens next? It's a magical moment because now you can send them a welcome series. The welcome series email, here's ours, built in Active Campaign, is one of the most effective emails you'll ever send. It's the email with the highest open rates, makes a big difference. It's an automated thing. You just set it up once, set it and forget it. And then after the person takes that action, they're going to get not just the lead magnet, but a series of emails. It's like striking while the iron's hot. This person is a high in their interest at that moment. So the immediate email that they get and the subsequent emails, the results from these are often great. Very high open rates, click to open rates. These are some of the best emails that you'll send. Highly recommend tuning up your auto response sequence if you haven't checked it in a while, or creating one if this is new to you. Now I want to jump into the debate about to gate or not to gate. We did a survey of a bunch of B2B marketers and of a bunch of B2B website visitors and B2B buyers. When we asked the question to the marketers, collecting information through gated content is important to your success, right? 12% strongly agreed, about a third were neutral, 13 disagreed, 8% strongly disagreed. So marketers kind of feel squeamish about gating content. Maybe rightfully so. It's kind of a controversial thing, right? Do you need to ask your people to give you their email address before you'll give them value? Isn't that kind of antithetical to the idea of content marketing? Maybe yes. Then we asked the B2B visitors, are you willing to provide contact information in exchange for relevant content? They basically agreed. 0% strongly disagreed. So weirdly, the marketers are actually much more uptight about gating content than visitors. If the visitor sees value, if they need that guide for castle defense, they've got concerns about their moat and, for keeping barbarians out, they will happily give their information for it, right? But that doesn't mean that it's necessarily the best approach. Our friend and champion content marketer Ahava Liebtag of Aha Media did a famous experiment where she took all the gates off of her content and got huge results. Drew Davis famously did a little video about this on Loyalty Loop and reported that the results from this experiment led to an increase in downloads by 143%. Not surprising, the gate's gone. But 55% increase in email signups and also a 45% increase in social followings. So yes, gates are a best practice, but best practices are really just good hypotheses. Test it for yourself and see what works for you.
That's it. Simple, right? We hope you found this useful. If you know anyone who's struggling to grow their email list or wants to better understand the debate about gating or not gating, feel free to share. We'd be thrilled if you could pass this along. Of course, word of mouth is the greatest marketing. And subscribe if you'd like to get the next one as soon as it comes out. Again, this is Andy from Orbit Media, and we'll keep making these. Hope you found it useful.